Hey everybody, thanks for checking out this episode of the Warp Chatter podcast, the Horus Heresy Legions podcast for players by players. And a big part of that is you, the players. We have guests on every week to talk about their enjoyment, their fascination with the game, whatever it is that brought them into the hobby, who they are, what they enjoy about Warhammer 40k Horus Heresy Legions. Typically, we've got a guest list out for about 2 or 3 weeks, but it is an open invitation. So if you want to participate and would like to be a guest on our episode, please get in touch with me via Facebook, DM on Discord, or on Reddit, and we'll get you on the guest list. The major requirement there is just, access to Discord and primarily English speaking for ease of communication. But other than that, it doesn't matter what type of player you are, how new you're to the game, if you've been playing the game forever, if you're a top 50 player, if you play events. It doesn't matter if you're an Iron Warriors fan or not. We'd be happy to have you and talk. Actually, I think we've had way more Iron Warriors fans on the show than Imperial Fist fans, but we digress. So that's just a quick plug before we get on with today's episodes, and let's do it.
In the far future, there will be only war.
The chains are broken.
This will be a good hunt.
Through the dark veil of space-time.
This is Warp Chatter.
Stone and steel will speak.
Let's get this over with.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to the Eye of Terror Studios. This is the Warp Chatter podcast, the podcast dedicated to talking about the Horus Heresy Legions digital card game, Warhammer 40,000, lore, game tactics, fan stuff in general. This is a podcast by players for players, and with me today we've got returning players. We actually just have a player, number one JP101, who was on our last episode, has returned to join us today.
Hello.
And with me as usual is my crab co-host Axel Manning.
Oh, the warp currents were this time transmissible. I'm home early.
Able to arrive on time this time. That's okay. Well,
I am arrived.
Technically, I was the one that started late tonight, so I had some unforeseen familial ties. But I'm your host, Scuff D, and as I said, this is the podcast by players for players. We're going to be talking about the recent patch that came out Tuesday. We're just going to be covering it, diving into it, talking about what we like about it, what it affects, things that we're trying, obviously changes that have made some cards that were asked for to finally be dealt with, have been dealt with in some way, shape, and form. So we're really just going to be discussing that and see where else the conversation takes us. But before we get into that, really quick, I do want to do a couple quick mentions because this podcast is going to be airing on the 14th of October, and that means if you're listening to this, you have 9 days to submit your submission for the podcast promo code contest. That promo code contest, again, all you have to do is PM me, find me on Discord, and tell me what your favorite episode of the podcast is and why, and that will enter your name into a drawing for promo codes. I've got 3 codes to give away. Each are worth 1,000 gold, and right now I only have 5 entries in the podcast contest. Now, I've got more entries in the YouTube card creation contest, but right now that's a pretty small pool. It's pretty tight, 20% chance that somebody isn't going to get a promo code. So you can help by expanding that by submitting, by participating in that, or letting somebody know who's in your lodge, perhaps, who doesn't quite listen. Maybe cue them in. Give them a way to give them 1,000 gold, because who doesn't like free gold? So, with that out of the way, introductions a little bit. Again, if you guys tuned into our last episode, we talked with Juan as well as Terse, the TO. We were covering the Lodge Wars 5 format. Juan also guested as part of Team USA when we were covering the World Cup But Juan, for those who missed those 2 episodes, and maybe those who don't know you, just tell us about yourself.
Yes, I am number Juan JP101. I am a constant top 50 player. I play a lot of events. I consider it to be my strongest format, and I play a lot of Horse Heresy Legions.
Does the JP stand for Jurassic Park?
God, I hope.
No, funnily enough, those are my initials.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So now we can put it through the computer and find out all your personal details.
Okay. And 101 is clearly the number of letters in his name, so that makes sense. Okay.
Obviously. It's the only part that makes sense.
I always wondered if it was Jurassic Park or maybe Japan, because I played Dokkan Battle, so there's Global and there's JP, and I was like, there's no JP version of Legions, though. I mean, there is, but it's the same version everybody else is playing, so... Okay.
It's not the first time someone's assumed that I was Japanese because of my name.
Really?
I mean, Juan doesn't, speak to me as a Japanese name.
No.
You never know.
I mean, you're more... See, Jurassic Park is much more believable to me because that takes place off of Costa Rica. So... I'm just like region-wise, it would make more sense that you are a contracted worker off of Nebula, or was it Isla Nublar? Isla Nublar.
I haven't watched the Jurassic Park movies in years.
Oh, bro!
I need to watch them again.
Yeah, it's Isla Nublar.
It's Isla Nublar. That's the main one, and then there's I forget the island that Site 2's on. I mean, we don't have to talk about Jurassic Park. We're not here to talk about Jurassic Park.
No, but we could be.
We could talk about what 1994 did to so many things. Was it 94? No, it was 92. Wow. Dang, it's been a long time.
Time flies.
That was the first time I had a triple cheeseburger. Yeah.
All right.
I was 12, and that was the tie-in. That was the McDonald's tie-in to the Jurassic Park movie. Was they debuted the triple cheeseburger.
The tie-in was just diabetes.
the tie-in was like, how can we make the biggest thing? But it was, I forget it was like basically, dinosaur-sized appetite. I don't know if they still have triple cheeseburgers, but I mean, it was good the first time.
One. Okay, I know some places that sell them, but I don't think McDonald's does.
What does is that if you're thinking about going to Las Vegas, there was a place called the Heart Attack Grill, and that is exactly as it sounds. It advertises itself. It prides itself on the greasiest, thickest, fattest burgers and fries and butterfat shakes. No joke. The decor of the restaurant is that of kind of like a diner meets an emergency ward, and all of the waiters and waitresses are nurses and doctors. And and when you go in, before you sit down, they put hospital patient bibs on you, so you have to dine in like that. It's an interesting experience.
All right, so we're going to Las Vegas, boys.
I'm just saying, check it out. Check it out. Heart Attack Grill. It was fun. It was tasty. The burgers were good. The shake was really good. Fries, not so much. I wouldn't recommend those. But I digress.
I think we're supposed to be doing HHL.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who will never go to Las Vegas, who are outside of the country, maybe even, who are listening to this. But
and I don't blame you.
Yeah,
you're in the right if you don't want to go to Las Vegas.
There's reasons. But we're here to talk about the patch, and it is a big one. It's a big patch. Released on Tuesday, which is funny enough because we were talking about the patch a little bit last week when we were recording, and it hasn't come out yet, and we were doing some speculating. Maybe it was going to be Night Lords. It was not like Night Lords. I really wasn't expecting Ultramarines. It just was a big overwork to a lot of cards in the Ultramarines faction, but it was also Thousand Suns, and then going back and just touching up on some cards that were kind of edging on problematic, or that were definitely problematic, with Salamanders, Iron Hands, Defenders of Caliban, Imperial Army, Mechanicum, and Chaos all receiving a card or two changed. So, I don't know if you guys want to I can just read through the Ultramarine section first, talk about what the changes are, and then we can, say what we like, what our impressions are, what our practice has been, how that's looking.
Sure. I mean, they are like the juice of this, like the meat of the buff.
You said juice before I said juice, so you know it.
I'm only saying juice because you've been drilling that word into my head. That was not a choice.
I've been drilling the juice in your head, boy. No.
Okay, sir. I'm calling the cops.
No, but to be fair, I think the general theme for the Ultramarines is get juiced. I mean, I don't know. It is. I feel it is. Like courage. Courage is out the window. It's all about juicing these guys up. So, yeah. Baleria Squad. So Baleria Squad, which had the rally deal 2 to as a courage, deal 2 to a random troop. Now just rally deal 1 damage to a random enemy troop, and then courage deals 1 additional damage. A Scipio Bike Squadron, which was one of those ones that like cloned itself with courage, now instead has courage deal 1 damage to all enemies. Casas Squad, which was also a clone version, was that 4/4 troop. Now as courage deals 3 damage to a random enemy in stealth. Ingenis Command, which was a 4/4 that was pay 1 to either heal 2 or deal 2, now simply rallies to deal 2 or heal 2. Captain Alcius, the legendary, his ability was lowered to 0. Apothecary Theon had his stats increased up to 6 health, and his ability now as a resolution heals 2 to 2 random friendly units. The Honor Guard increased its attack to 5. Captain Corvo increased his attack to 6. The Stylus Veterans were changed to have a courage and battle honor to create a random practical in your hand. Ancient Krato, which is the large dreadnought frontline, has courage gain +1/+1. Captain Mysander now gives his passive +1/+0 to adjacent units, which can include your warlord now. Stellic Atheon now instead of courage destroy a random enemy troop, he now destroys the enemy troop with the highest attack. Retribution Strike had its description changed from deal 2 damage if target dies, draw a card, to just deal 2 damage, courage, draw a card. Relentless Pursuit lowered its cost to 1. Interlocking Tactics changed altogether to draw 2 cards, and then as a courage effect, a random enemy with stealth loses it. Mantle of Ultramar is possibly, arguably, one of the biggest changes in this block. Now gets resolution instead of relentless. And Lords of Ultramar is changed to 4 cost instead of 8 cost, and it gives +1/+1 to all Ultramarine troops in your hand and deck. And lastly, Wrath and Betrayal now costs 6 instead of 7. That's the overview of the Ultramarines patch. Before I get started, Juan, you want to tell us what your thoughts are on this, just initially?
Initially, from the Ultramarines, I didn't find them to be all that weak. I'll be honest. They had their game plan. Sure, the only warlord you ever saw was Gilliman because his 40 HP made him hard to deal with, and their game plan is get to the late game and drop troops that you can't deal with while getting passive courage along the way to build back board or maybe steal back tempo. But my main problem with the Ultramarines always was that their troops weren't sticky enough. They weren't fast enough, and they relied too much on courage that if your opponent, say, wasn't playing any troops, then you almost felt like you were wasting the troop if you just played it outright.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found that their game plan was already figured out. They make it to the late game, they drop their Ancient Marcellus, and you can't deal with that, and they just win from there. Now they've got a way to win the early game, and they take board incredibly well now, and I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, like Marcellus, I mean, it didn't matter which warlord you played. Like I said, I mean, generally you would see Gilliman most because he had the high health pool. He can create those practicals which could heal, potentially. Ultramarines have a huge healing pool, and they can get to the late game. He's got a decent late game plan. Then you get to Marcellus, and you deal the damage. And you can still do that, but he's got a lot of tools to put pressure on earlier, as early as, 4 energy, really, although it really kicks up at 6 energy and higher, especially if he gets that Mantle of Ultramar out there right away, because that on curve just becomes a beast. Axel, what are you thinking?
I'm really liking it. I'll agree with Juan 100%. The Ultramarines weren't at their, they weren't one of the lowest factions. They were just middle of the road. They were doing fine. But with this recent buff, I see him a lot more now. I've ran into, I want to say, a dozen Gilmans in the week since the patch. And yeah, they have an early game. They don't have to play their troops for the courage anymore, though the courage is nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. I'm actually liking it. And Honor Guard is no longer worse than in Malkador's Circle. I think his name is the 4-6.
Oh,
yeah. Which I love the idea.
5-6.
Yeah.
Which I love the idea that the personal honor guard of Gilman is weaker than some guardsmen. I love that mental image.
They're chosen by Malkador, though. That's got to mean something.
You make a valid point.
They're Astartes versus humans, though.
Well, I mean, if we're doing that, then no Astartes cards should be.
Oh yeah,
one attack.
But I love just the slap side by side. It's like, yes, honor guard, not great.
Well, I think a lot of this though is kind of like a side by side comparison where there were some of these cards, and some of the cards that they didn't change. I think that's okay because of still like their flanker, their 5/3 unstoppable flanker still only flanks with courage, whereas you have that same cost, same attack, same health, same unstoppable troop that just has flank with Orphans of War. You have the same guy that he can rally and give sentence with the Raven Guard. And I think there's one more that also has a 5/3 that does some, or 5/5 unstoppable flanker with the Blood Angels. But the Ultramarines, with their other courage abilities, don't need a guaranteed flanker. That's nice to have, but I think they really do rely on taking the board, and they're better off having a body survive with whether it's these rally effects, deal 2 damage, deal 1 damage, deal 2 random damage, or giving stat buffs to troops to survive, and then having a warlord who can support them with whether it's with practicals or theoreticals or troop buffs, or just consistent damage. I mean, they can do more what they were doing before, and by doing that more, I think obviously they do it better, but I think they finally feel like, especially compared to some of the newer factions that have been out, I think they kind of feel at least like they're on par. Because, you've got courage effect, but if your opponent has got 4 turrets with Bastion 3, that courage effect isn't going to feel all too wonderful. It's not going to feel like it's enough. Not that some of these would be enough to swing that anyways, but at least, if you get to that late game and you're able to drop out 2 or 3 6+ attack and defense troops, they might do the job. What are your guys's, because side-by-side comparison, like we talked a little bit about Apothecary Theon before we started recording. So Apothecary Theon, he's an epic. He's a 3/6, which is the same stats as Purity of Will from the Death Guard, which is a rare, but that heals 2 to all friendly units. He heals 2 to 2 random friendly units, but I think with the way the Ultramarines work, generally that 2 is enough sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Also, I want to clarify this real quick. Does Purity of Will heal itself?
Purity of Will does not heal itself.
There's
Theon will.
Theon will, and because he's an Astartes, there's a lot of buff cards for the Astartes within the Ultramarines faction. You can give him, and I've done a couple times, give him no fear, so then he's even stronger, or you can buff him with Gauge. Not to mention, obviously, just the consistent buffing that could happen if you get Mantle of Ultramar. Apothecary Theon can become the strongest apothecary, maybe outside of Fabius Bile as a warlord, that there is.
Easily. And it's scary.
Yeah.
That ability is very potent outside of, like, the Death Guard's Purity of Will is very good, but you balance it upon the Death Guard themselves.
Mm-hmm.
This Theon change is crazy.
I just
dread
feel
every
like
time I see him.
a lot of people say not to compare in-faction cards to cards that are from another faction.
Yeah.
But here, it's comparing essentially what should be a stronger card, but Purity of Will does not heal itself, and that's the main difference here. Apothecary Theon can be swinging and be buffed and do all this while also healing itself, whereas Purity has the downside where either you keep it here, out of the range of being hit by a 4 damage for 4 energy spell, or you swing with it, or you keep it behind so it heals you and your entire board. And the Death Guard, they don't have as sticky troops as the Ultramarines do, where their game plan is the troops. Death Guard are more outlasting you, maybe poisoning, and then once they get to the late game, landing that crucial Death Shroud that will just eventually kill you. And here, no, they got everything and they'll be healing all along the way, not having more than a couple troops all along.
Yeah, I mean, you can drop Theon and then follow up the next turn, buff him with Captain Corvo. And if you're playing Gage, buff him again, attack with him. And you've got a massive apothecary who also happened to heal himself from the attack to Warlord face, as well as your Warlord probably. And that's just playing one card to support another card that's already on the table. There's not a whole lot of work that goes into that. And they can do that every turn pretty much after 5 energy. It's the threat to put down, whether it's Corvo, an Honor Guard, an Apothecary Theon, a second copy of Apothecary Theon, Stellic Atheon, the Captain Mysander, like all the big guys. And then, if you get past those, you still have to deal with Ancient Marcellus. I'm honestly a little surprised that Marcellus didn't get a slight downgrade.
Even a side grade.
Yes, something, because I mean the faction still has Mantle, McCragg's Honor. It still has a lot of damage dealing tactics. It still has the what's the cruiser, Maiatis Cruiser. So I mean they can put out a lot of hurt. It definitely feels like they get top heavy, but that's the reward, I suppose, if they outlast and they can survive top heavy. Then you build them that way. I do think. And I've spent the last, I want to say, 2 days, was it Tuesday, 3 days? I just started touching the other faction that this patch is in. I spent the first part of it just playing with the Ultramarines, playing Guilliman, and playing Gage, and I haven't even gotten really into Thiel or Remus Fontanus. I'd like to try Remus Fontanus because I like him. I like the Battle Honor. I had a lot more fun with Gage. I felt like Gage is very consistent, and Gage, unlike Guilliman, can put out an early game. Whereas Guilliman, his early game is kind of build up, survive, get some options, get some tactics, and then really late game hammer down. Like you said, Juan, I mean that's the strategy. That's his strategy, but that's also the Ultramarine strategy. Whereas Gage can early on put down a body, and the threat is there. And if you deal with that, I'll put down another one. The threat will keep coming, and it starts sooner. He doesn't have the ability to create tactics. That's the one downside of him is he can draw. He can draw if he doesn't have an Astartes on the board, but he doesn't create practicals or theoreticals. But if you can't,
At least,
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, at least he doesn't have a stroke if you put a stealth troop on board. That is something that drives me crazy playing Guilliman.
Yeah, and he still has that problem, doesn't he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they didn't change his ability at all, and that's how it's intended. We've asked in Q&As before.
Yeah,
It's meant to be. He just can't act if there's a troop he can't target.
It's very lore driven. A lot of people get frustrated by that, and it is kind of frustrating because there are really only a few circumstances where a warlord cannot use their ability. Like either they don't have an ability, or like in Guilliman's instance where there's no targetable unit, or your opponent has a ward and you've got your Abaddon and your opponent isn't playing any troops. Like those things can happen where you just don't have the option to use your ability. But that is kind of lore driven because Guilliman didn't see the betrayal coming. If they have stealth or they have ward, he can't plan. He can't make plans, and nor can he attack until something basically reveals itself. Essentially, that's the way I've always seen it. That's the story I tell in my head that makes it make sense to me.
I think
So in a way, like artificial duplicitous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the argument I heard to describe it was simply as it is not it does not follow the battle plans that he's used to, so he just stares at a stealth troop and goes, The Ultramarines weren't known for being sneaky.
They weren't, and he had to learn.
Almost no Legion was.
Yeah, he had to learn how to fight that way, or fight against it by watching Korax and being like, I don't understand your tactics. Like that doesn't even make sense. And Korax is like, well, that's how we fight. Like this is.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
Yeah,
Magic Man.
But yeah, once he did, then down the road he had some stealth troops and whatnot, but it still was very Ultramarine-y. They still adhered to his codex. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I think that's fine. I was surprised that they didn't change that. I would say probably those are the two changes in the card pool that I was surprised that they didn't make was Marcellus and Guilliman. I mean, they didn't change his reckoning. I don't think they needed to. But I feel like everything else that they did...
They actually did change his reckoning.
Did they?
They did.
It's 1 cost instead of 2 now.
That's not in the patch. Is that just a soft nerf that nobody mentioned?
Well, it's not a nerf, actually. It
Well,
being 1 energy
buff,
means
yeah.
he can... Yeah. He can draw out Ancient Marcellus and play it now, which is what happened to me in 1 game.
Oh, you mean his ability? I thought you meant his cost of his ability. Oh,
The cost of his ability when he transforms is only costs 1 energy now.
There is no mention of that.
There is no mention. Are you sure that didn't happen in a previous buff? I'd have to scroll back. I think that.
Then we'd have to scroll back quite a bit. Maybe this is just something I missed personally.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that already existed. I'll scroll while we're talking.
Juan, you've been put in front of the council. We're not going to find out if you're talking the truth.
Oh boy.
That would have been a while back.
Council will decide your fate.
Not that it made much of a difference, obviously, because they didn't change anything else to kind of go with him at the time. But yeah, so he could pay 1 energy, draw Marcellus, you take 9, and then he plays Marcellus, and you take an additional, whether it's the rally effect or the rally and the courage effect from Marcellus. That would be nasty. What is that, 15?
That's a finisher in of itself.
Yeah.
It's scary. I don't want to live in that world, and I think we already do.
Well,
yeah, thankfully Guilliman Astartes isn't a thing till, well, now.
Yes.
Apothecary Theons, just everything. Even Lords of Ultramar I've seen play a lot, and it's a pretty good card now.
It is. Yeah. It is, especially if you follow it up with Mantle of Ultramar. I mean, that's a little bit lost tempo, but like you said, and it's the Ultramarines' ability is to kind of help take back that tempo. And they lose 2 turns. I mean, unless they're playing against an opponent who can swarm the board or buff the board, and that there still are, Kazdrax still exists. That's a possibility. But if not, I mean, they can come out and then every troop they've got just starts with +2/+2 on the board. That's pretty nice.
Now, we keep mentioning Lords of Ultramar, or at least we have several times, but I think what we really need to mention is the Mantle of Ultramar.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, personally, that is, I think that's arguably the best card to come out of this patch for the Ultramarines.
Those unaware, or have just, didn't cue in to when everything was being said, it is changed to end of turn, which means it's instant value now. You no longer have to wait for a troop to survive a full turn and then your next one swing around. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, just like that's a guarantee. Like once you put that down, that's a guarantee that troop is going to get +1, and then if it survives, it'll get another +1, or you can put another troop down next to it. you're just going to start getting it. That Relentless versus Resolution are so different in scale, especially the way I see it. I kind of talked about this when I did the a video looking over at the update, is especially with the faction that is geared to have less bodies on the board and kind of come behind, and their troops don't survive. The early troops really don't survive a whole lot, so it's hard to even get that Relentless going to begin with. So Resolution makes it much more effective, because that 4/4, it comes out late, that is probably going to die. Now is a 5/5. It still may die, but it might take an extra resource or two from your opponent to make that happen.
It's honestly, I think a lot of people have been asking for that exact wording of just change it to Resolution.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy they did it. It took a while to get there, but
it's just comparing Mantle to Stalwart Defenders.
Oh,
I hate to comparing these two cards, comparing cards from other factions to the ones that are in this one, but really, that being a Resolution gives no reason why Mantle shouldn't have been.
I agree.
Alongside.
I agree. And the thing with Stalwart, versus Mantle gives some offensive capability, gives +1 to the attack, whereas Stalwart is just defensive only, because the way Bastion works. It's a good defensive, and you can play 2 of them. You can't play 2 Mantle of Ultramars unless maybe you've got like a Crucial Choice or a Kai's Lane or something like that. You've got Mantle, which was a legendary and working less effectively, and really just not even worth including versus an epic. And again, we don't want to compare factions, but you can't help it when you've got cards that are designed to buff troops. There's a certain timing thing. It might work good with Iron Hands, because they are a Relentless driven troop. Servo Harness working on Relentless versus Resolution still works. That's fine. They've got a lot of troops that abilities go off with Resolution. That's their gig. But otherwise, Resolution should be much more effective for something like the Ultramarines, or like the Shield, the Horned Raiment for the Thousand Suns. That being a Resolution, as well as giving it Psyker +1, makes a big difference versus Relentless.
I'm very happy they've been going around and picking the legendaries that everyone says are the worst and making them pretty good.
As they should.
Corpse Swan, you're next.
Okay, the easiest way to make Corpse Swan good is just to remove it. Remove every card past 6 energy for the Space Wolves.
Wait, what about the Frenzian Wolves?
No, we're doubling down. We're giving every troop they own below 5 energy flank. We're just going to see what happens.
Oh boy. Oh, shoot. Baelai with flank. Oh, that's a horrifying prospect.
The idea of giving them any flank is a horrifying prospect.
Yeah. It's like they're already, thirsty for flanking stuff. You give them more ways to flank. I think if they just took Corpse Swan and, I don't know, it either costs too much, or it's the fact that it's just, there's only 1 or 2 warlords that want to get to the late game anyways. And maybe if it was maybe it was 2 energy, choose a troop to draw, and then give it fast. But still, 9 energy just feels so expensive for Corpse Swan.
The way I see it is, it doesn't synergize with the faction, and the only card in the faction, and the only warlord that synergizes with the faction itself is Lehman.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's all about that pack gameplay, and then none of the other ones are. You could argue Fellhand is, but he's not.
He's not.
I think he's really not.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
It's a sad faction. Don't tell Lehman Russ himself though that we're saying this.
We'll see something. I'm sure we'll see something for the Space Wolves at some point down the way. But yeah, so as far as the Ultramarines go, looking at just the section of the patch for the Ultramarines, what would you say is your favorite change and your least favorite change? We'll start with Juan.
I'd have to go with the Mantle of Ultramar change. It's the change that everyone's been wanting for years at this point, really.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had to say my top vote for which change was my favorite, it'd have to be that one.
All right,
What's your
least favorite?
They overdid the Apothecary by a large margin. It was already one of their best units, and now it's a 3/6, which
harder to kill.
And it heals itself. It's such a ridiculous card now.
And as a resolution, even if you like bounce it as meld, I'll play it again and still heal. So,
just. But other than that, it's been a great patch, I have to say.
All right, Axel, what's your favorite UM and least favorite UM patch here?
I was going to go the exact same ones, but I'm going to go a little bit different for the last one here. I'll argue for Mantle of Ultramar being the best change, simply. I don't think anyone's going to disagree on me with that one. I didn't like how they changed the ones with Courage, create a copy. Now, they are better, but I really liked being able to infinitely bounce some troops in my hand, especially with Gilliman's Reckoning. Just being able to let them die over and over again. I'll miss it. It's for the best, but I'll miss it. And the Apothecary is just broken.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, that the Mantle of Ultramar definitely, like, hands down, like, that is just, like, finally, and I think the best thing with Mantle of Ultramar is it makes every other change that they did to the troops in this patch better. So that is within this patch of juiciness, of juicy troops, there is a patch, there's a buff that's buffing, it's juicing the other buffs, guys. There's no denying that. Like, Mantle of Ultramar is the best. I think and then second for me, like least favorite, like I like Apothecary Theon. I do agree he might be a bit overboard. If they just left his stats to 6 health and kept the resolution as he was, or made him heal 1 to 2 random friendly units, or 1 to all, maybe that would have been better. 2 is a little overtuned. I don't know if he's the least favorite one I've got, though. I would probably say, I don't know, like, that's hard. Like, least favorite beyond that, yeah, I think so, because everything else here, I don't have a whole lot of complaints with. Like, even the stuff that is lowering the cost or increasing the stat, like, there's no problem there. But really, in terms of problem, we will see is Apothecary Theon is going to really drive the games for a lot of Ultramarines. Like, you get that Apothecary Theon out on curve, and he survives, your opponent's going to have a hard time. If they get rid of him, you drop the other Apothecary, and they'll still have a hard time. And ideally, you're dropping them after you've got Mantle of Ultramar or some other way to buff them. And they can really put out a lot of work.
You basically choose how the match is going from there on out if you can play them on curve.
Yeah. Well, and they really help make up for some lost time, depending on how much damage your Warlord might have taken, which is great.
And I don't feel bad playing Theo with them, because, well, I have low HP, but they're going to heal me as well, as long as my board's not too wide. I just want to bring back Theo meta, damn it.
Just don't make his ability 1 energy again.
We gotta double down and do that again. Fuck you,
I want Primus Fontanus to be the go-to. Gage, here's the thing.
He has been pretty saucy so far, I have to admit.
Yeah, he does a little bit of everything, right? He's got a battle honor that creates a tactic. He can deal straight damage to the Warlord, whether they're stealthed or not, or he can give himself Survivor. Like, that's pretty dang versatile. Like, it's not great any which way, because a Survivor is 2 energy for 1, but it's something. Like, even if he can't do anything, at the very least, he can give himself something.
Theoretically, he can save himself with that.
Personally,
there's some very few niche scenarios, but he could.
Yeah. Personally, like, as far as lore-wise, I thought Ventanus was a cooler character, especially in No Fear in the Underground War. You know, that image of him basically being like, we'll win. You know, like, he's got his standard bearer with him, and, you know, wages this war, like, marches across half the planet of Calth, you know, gathering this war to kind of this army to kind of fight back the word bearers. Like, he felt much more cooler in the book than Gage who basically gets sent off to go chase Corphaeron. Obviously, Gilliman and Theon were awesome characters in the book too, but I don't know. I thought Remus Ventas was a cool character.
I think it'd be a lot cooler if he just gave up to the word bearers. Saying.
Oh,
Chaos wins, please.
well,
Give us something.
I mean, Chaos won in the last patch a little bit. The word bearers got some stuff with the changes to sacrifice, but we also have a couple other factions that got changed here with this patch. First off, the Thousand Suns. So, the Thousand Suns already got a patch a little bit ago, a rather large patch. This one here, I think, just kind of added to it. But this was the needed add. I think maybe if these had all come with the first wave, maybe it would have been too much out the gate. But I think in addition to later on, it worked out better. Parade Squad, which is the 2/3, it has Psyker 2 now. It was a 1/3. Now it has a 2/3. It has Psyker 2. It has a Rally Gain Precognition. Amuna Squad is a 4/4 Unstoppable, but now it has Rally Gain to Psyker. Penthu Das gets his Psyker back up to 2. Hidden One gains Psyker 2, and now instead of his ability costing Psychic Energy, it costs just 2 energy, which finally has Psyker. Airman's Cabal went from a 5/6 to a 6/6, has Psyker 3, and as a rally, it gains precognition until your next turn, and for 1 energy, you can gain 4 psychic energy. City of Light gets lowered from 3 to 2, and Flesh Change gains draw a card. Before I give my thoughts on it, what are your guys' thoughts?
I don't think there's anything you can really complain about in there. It's all solid changes. Flesh Change is cycling now, that's always good. City of Light costing 1 less is actually, I want to say, pretty significant, because you can play that turn 1, pop a drilling sites, and now you're just going to play like a normal pre-nerf Thousand Sun. Mind you just burnt 2 cards, but I think the point still stands.
Really, the main feel bad that after their initial change, which I still consider was a nerf, but just now they're forced to play with their troops instead of just being neutral warlords with Ashen Blows and Izakar Wars. Now you won't be seeing as many Doombringers or Armans with just a neutral card pool that he can hide behind his ability. Now they're forced to play in-faction troops. Sure, Psyker is a little free again, like it used to be on release, but it's not near as atrocious. But overall, I feel this was good.
Oh yeah, it was. Even if it made them perform worse, it was healthier for the state of the game.
Well, I've already had. I just today was the first day for me finally dive into this portion of the patch, and I've already had several games where I've gotten my Psyker back up over 20, so feels good.
It's good to hear.
Yeah, it's not as easy as it once was, but I think not just in getting the Psyker adjusted between the warlords as well as the troops, but also the synergy with precognition, getting that on a few more troops and making those troops more effective. I've been a fan of Hidden One for a long time because
the art is very good.
The art's good. It's a 4/5 epic that had precognition, and that's it. And I never used it for its ability. It didn't matter what the ability was before the other revision.
Do you remember what it was?
It was like 2 Psyker, and you got to look at a tactic in the opponent's hand. And I think it was like if it was a tactic, you could copy it. I don't even know if the copy was a real thing. I don't think it had the copy effect. It was just like look at a card in their hand, essentially. It was like, why? Like, why wouldn't I just attack?
It was a worse Avon.
It was not good. So having precognition and you can give it quick blood, it's like that's just. I always played it like that. So then they changed it, and it still had precognition, but it just didn't have Psyker 2. And it's like give it Psyker. Like, this is an epic. You know, I mean, you've got again, I hate to compare with other cards and other pools, but 4/5 energy cost epics. You've got, Astravel. for the Dark Angels, which just does awesome, phenomenal stuff for them. Like it feels like it's good. We got Apothecary Theon and the Ultramarines. Like, why does Hidden Ones feel so weak? But now with it being Psyker 2, its ability creating a copy of a tactic in the opponent's deck isn't bad if you want to use that. And in some games, turn after turn, you're like, oh yeah, I'll just create a second copy of your Vengeful Spirit. Or, oh yeah, I'll just create a second copy of whatever you like. You can do that time after time after time if you really want to. Or you could just swing with them for the 4 attack, and they've got precognition.
I just out of the hell of just copying Pirate Raid over and over again.
I played somebody today, and I was a Ferrus Manus, and I copied their Medusan Carapace twice, which helped counter the servo harness that they put on themselves. And it was a long game, but that won me the game between that and Hidden Reckoning. Yeah. But I mean, like that, it finally feels like it's a good epic, and Airman's Cabal as well, because before that was just even with the change, it was like give precognition to a troop until its next turn. But now this one finally is like now it has precognition, and it's a 6/6 with Psyker 3. They just feel like they can get psychic juice. They can get that psychic juice.
Juice them up.
That's right. But they can throw it on punch. You could still play Doombringer with Ahriman, but before you get to that Doombringer, you can actually use the Cabal and have a 6/6 body on the board that can actually do something. Whether he's giving you energy to use your ability or he's attacking for 6. Like it's good.
Yeah.
I like it. And with this added to the previous patch, where cards like Warp Portal had its cost reduced, and then there was one more in there I think that had its cost reduced. Change. Warp Portal was the big one. There's basically you can have a Izzakir Ore, a bounce Izzakir Ore pseudo deck going where it's not necessarily Atham-Ore, and it certainly doesn't feel as cheesy as Atham-Ore because you're playing with all thousands of cards to make it work, but that's possible. Like I played another game where I think I threw down Izzakir Ore 4 or 5 times against a Kurz with multiple Warp Portals.
War crime.
Yeah, it felt good actually. I that one I wasn't going to play about. Like if you're going to play Kurz, you're going to feel it. Like that's, you know what? Shame on you for trying to hide in the shadows and apotheosis. That was my fun time. And then I think right before he disconnected, it was yeah, well, it wasn't like I was bouncing. He had him down to 7 health, and I was going for the lethal. I played the quick blood to do the lethal strike, and they disconnected. I was like, really? Come on, guy. Stick it out. You lasted this long. Because I think he hoped I was running out of warp portals, but then I had the 3/3 troop that creates psychic tactics, or psychic tactics, so then I would just create another warp portal.
First mistake, assuming you'll run out of warp portals.
Well, and that game also, if I recall correct, I think I created Book of Magnus with Crucial Choice. So I got him back.
So even more.
Yes.
Why you gotta do this to my guy? He didn't. Well, okay. He probably deserved this. That doesn't mean you have to do it.
He deserved it. I don't know who this guy was, but I'm telling you, he deserved. I sensed
listen
it
to this.
From game.
If you find this podcast, you deserved it.
It's right. That's right. If you're just not good at the game, you deserved it.
Oh, God damn it. He should have just GG'd at the end. Shame.
Well, I would. Yeah, I was going to look for him in global chat and GG him, but I was like, you know what? The disconnect just changed it. Just put it. Maybe a different
he just
level.
threw his phone out a window. Maybe he has no way of ever knowing.
I'm hopeful that sometimes when there's disconnect, that it really is like a connection issue. Maybe they ran through a tunnel, or they had to go, or they put their phone down, or their internet. I don't know. But there are those times where it's very obvious. You're like, really? Really, guy?
Oh man, you went in that tunnel just as I had lethal on board. That's a crazy coincidence.
You emoted like 50 times through the course of that entire game because you thought you were winning, and then like the one play where it turns around, you're like, oh, like disconnect. Really?
Your name's Magnus Knapp.
Yeah.
Just so happens to be Magnep. I mean,
just saying. Hey,
around here we don't like calling out certain users. Magnep, on the other hand, is an exception.
Yeah, he's the exception to the rule as being just a. I mean, I
bad egg.
Just not a good player, not someone to emulate, not someone to appreciate, somebody worth devaluing in any way, shape, and form. Before I go into it, I guess a little bit further, because I mean, I forgot I had a new release hit single from Magnus himself that I wanted to debut on this episode of the podcast to kind of coincide with this Thousand Suns patch.
People at home, we are going to suffer through this too. We'll suffer together.
Well,
lend me your strengths.
I will say now before I hit play on this, before I put this in the Warp Chatter CD drive Walkman, our CD Walkman 4000. I do make no apologies for my $20 microphone that was used in this recording, but
I feel like if you had a good quality microphone, it wouldn't have the
it ruins some of the like nostalgia that this will make.
Exactly. I feel like this, well, I was trying to get some echo effect going, so I wasn't just I was trying to make it a character like a shard of Magnus, Anyways, I'm going to hit play.
I'm a shard of
my
former self.
I'll count down, and we'll hit play, and then we'll listen together, and you guys can just commentate. I'll have it playing, and then maybe at some point down the road, we'll just release an entire album, a 15-song collection of spoofs, because I've got some. I've got some others recorded, too. But this is the one for today.
Scuff, I finally thought of what we got to do for the final episode. Well, not final episode, but of the year, where we get drunk with the Three Musketeers. We might as well just sing Christmas Carol spoofs. Hammered.
I agree. I got to write some. I've got 2 written, but I've done those before. I wanted to get some new ones down.
Darn, buddy, because I know you're listening to this. We will get you hammered, and you will sing us Christmas carols. That is a fucking promise.
One of my plans, the top of the list, is to spoof Wham's Last Christmas, but it's going to be called Last Chaos. I don't know what the lyrics are going to be, but it's
you got the name. That's half the.
That's how you start.
That's half the fight.
That's right. That's how you start. So I'm going to count this down. You guys want to click play when I hit start, and then we'll listen and endure it together one last time. It's hard being a Primarch.
So,
we fall into
how
chaos.
Do you feel emotionally?
Yeah, tell me how you feel.
It's hard to be a Primarch.
Maybe not because it was his fault necessarily.
I would have to say, out of all the things you can do in your life, it's actually pretty easy to be a Primarch.
I wrote about it to tell you how I feel.
Do what you want on a planet.
I swear, this music is 100% mine.
The Emperor is going to come by eventually. He's going to be
100%
responsibilities. I give you an army.
Yeah, and now you have an
1,000 years and I'm alive here still.
Like, you look at Khan, what did Khan do in his army? He went back home and made them fucking die.
For resurrection.
We're gonna go on a suicide mission, boys, so you can all
study the war, thinking I knew I should use my knowledge to save this brotherhood with Chris.
I love the Khan.
Or whatever that means. And so I scry sometimes and this once
God damn it,
my sons was excited. I said and I'm
Are you equally as offended?
It's great.
Yes. God damn, dude.
So I go to my tower and I look outside and I remember that time I gave up my eye and I screamed into the world. I did nothing wrong.
I've been doing this for like 2 months.
And I say, hey, yeah,
right down the wall. You enter like,
this is just completely covered in lyrics. That part was hard for me. It was hard for me to do this alone in my room. And I say, hey, yeah.
There's no shame.
Dad,
No shit. What happens alone for real?
You know, you leave me with the microphone, I'm gonna sing. It's gonna
You know, there are worse things that can happen, so I gotta respect it.
In the world, it's so lonely. This planet. I'm okay. Okay.
I can't hear the normal backtrack anymore after being hit with the He-Man
It's just
backtrack.
real for me.
He-Man's just
I gotta finish this song.
the other one's too soon.
I've gotta
Yeah,
finish this song.
if I had the He-Man upbeat, I think it would be even more catchier.
Oh, dear Daddy.
Now you know you gotta redub it in the
That's why all the time.
techno one.
It's on my list. It's on my list to redub it. Get some auto-tune. I want to get some auto-tune effect.
And I play.
Too much auto-tune. Too
My
much auto-tune.
father,
Listen,
do I play?
I need auto-tune.
I play every single day in the immaterium. And so I spy sometimes and Russ wants me dead. For the sanctions, my sons, was it something I said? And
Hi, everyone.
I'm feeling a little despondent.
You gotta ask who wants some dead in relation to
Russ
that.
wants
So I go to my tower and I look outside and I remember that time I gave up my eye and I screamed into the book. I did nothing wrong. And I said, hey,
I can't see it, but at this point, I like two-handed the microphone
yeah.
like a rock
I
star.
said, hey, Dad, I did nothing wrong.
It's hurt my ears.
And I
It hurts my own ears. I'm gonna turn this down on my end because I can't take it. I can't take the sound of my own voice. It's painful. I think some people just will probably skip over the 4 or 5 minutes of this whole thing.
They can, but I call that cowardice.
I feel like they'll miss the reaction, and I feel like that's half the fun.
I feel like, hearing me and Juan go through pain for you.
Well, we go through the pain so they don't have to.
That's
they can go
right.
ahead and skip.
We're
It's
martyrs.
It's a shared experience, you know?
I did nothing wrong.
That's right.
Also, this is where he realizes.
This is he comes full circle. The song is about him having a hard time, but at the end of it all,
Revelation. That is.
he realizes that he did nothing
We're
wrong.
gonna have a hard time. Magnus's entire life story is I'm having a hard time.
Yes. He finally got it off his chest, and he realizes that. Wait a minute.
And use my will and hope for resurrection.
Ultra?
Thank you. There you
The
go.
world goes.
That is
Okay.
4 minutes and 55 seconds that we will never get back. But it was much longer for me because I had to sing that, I think, about 5 times before I got a decent take with my $20 microphone.
Moving up in the world with your
Hey,
$20
now to be fair, that was a learning experience because I went from that and then my Altharius cover of Lords Royals came out much better. But
I
we'll
wasn't
get
aware
to
of
that.
this.
We'll get to that some other time. I'll send that to you guys. $30 haircut? No, man. I gotta play with my $10 haircut. I get
Don't talk to me with your $30 haircut.
Great Clips. That's where I go.
Oh, I cut my own hair.
I did that one time. It did not work out so well.
Well, you have to understand, Scuff. I have 2 sets of hair types. I got mullet or buzz cut, and obviously I can't be rocking a mullet in these days.
No. Don't do it. So with the Thousand Suns changes here, what are your guys' favorites, least favorites?
Well, you wanna start on your favorite and least favorite Thousand Suns?
Overall, I feel they were done really well. I died to a psychic lash while I was in stealth because he had 40 Psyker, and there was nothing I felt like I could do to stop him.
Mhm.
So I think Psyker might be a little free again. Maybe just nerf Armaments Cabal to 2 Psyker, and then we'll be fine. But I feel it was really good. If I had to say my favorite, it'd have to be Armaments Cabal gaining that Psyker now. Or that precognition on rally, just a 6/6 that your opponent can't deal with attacks. That's good because most things like that late in the game, the Space Wolves have the flanker,
Mhm.
Orphans of War have the flanker. there's a lot that could deal with it if they could attack it. But now that it doesn't, it's like basically a guaranteed 6/6 that you're going to get to swing with for free. And it having Psyker 3 on top just adds to the Psyker pool that will eventually exceed 20 without you even trying.
Yeah, I have to agree. I personally, just from my own, and I think Hidden Ones is my favorite, just because I wanted it to be for so long. Airman's Cabal is very strong for that reason. Like the precognition for Parade Squad is even not bad, because early on it's like, yeah, it's a really disposable body at 2/3. They can throw a tactic at it and get rid of it if they want to, but they can't flank. And like I said, yeah, late game there's a lot of high cost flankers that before. There wasn't too many options, and there is now. And you deny them that. You deny your opponent that. That's a big change-up. And then they can stay alive to give you that additional 3 Psyker for your turn, which you can use for anything again. Like this change here with the additional Psyker on some of these troops, because when the first wave took, I took all the psychic ability, all the psychic tactics out of my deck, and I think the only one I had in there was Quick Blood and Warp Portal for the Issachar Ore. And now I put in an Ashen Blow and I put back in an Astral Warfare. I'm not going to go too heavy into it, because I'm trying to play with the troops and kind of doing a little bit more beyond like the troop buff options, but they have the ability to get there reliably again, whereas before it's like, well, I guess I'll play Astral Warfare one time this game because I might get to that point. Now you could get to that point and still play another tactic or two before that too. So, yeah. How about you, Axel?
Favorites and least favorites. All right. Well, I don't think I have a least favorite out of any of them.
It's hard for me to have a least favorite. Yeah, I don't.
I think they're all very good, but my favorite has to be Armin's Cabal. I like Hidden One's art. I'm happy it can be used. But man, Armin Cabal being a 6/6 that is not leaving unless you hard removal him on first turn is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, everything about him is great. Active and his passive psychic energy. He's just going to give you energy. He's going to give you the juice.
He's going to give you the juice.
The juice.
Oh, you know what?
Can't stop the juice.
I feel like we've talked enough about juice. I'm going to plug another song, guys. I'm going to do it.
God damn it.
I'm going to send you... Juan, have you heard the juice?
I can't say I have.
Oh.
Juan, do you want to hear the juice?
Can we just go to the other buffs and nerfs?
Let's do that. We'll end with the juice because I think that's fair. I think we already endured 4 minutes and 55 seconds enough. We'll go to the end of it and we'll end with juice. But yeah, let's talk about the other nerfs here because I think these are well timed. Well, I can't say well timed. They're a little overdue, but they're well asked for, right?
Yeah.
Salamanders had 2 cards changed. They had Hope, which instead of choosing a troop now, you just draw a troop from your deck, so it's a little bit more in line with supply lines.
It's abandoned. Yeah, it's the abandoned supplies of
that lets you run drone site.
Yeah.
Or troops or whatever.
Yeah. And you don't get the guaranteed like this. I'm going to pick the high cost troop. Like you might get a low cost guy. Like that's just the way it is. Resilience had its cost increased to 5 from 4, which I still feel is fair. I can't. Yeah. I really enjoyed playing Resilience a lot, especially with Vulcan creating multiple resiliences. But I feel it's fair, especially with what that can bring out.
Yeah, I can't complain about this. I like my green amphibians doing quite well, but this is fair. I can't argue against these.
Any thoughts, Juan?
Ever since I started playing with Vulcan, up until the point I got in top 50 with him, I was advocating Resilience is way too cheap for what it does. I'd be getting back Fire Drakes or just constant Epistolaries and still be able to act with Vulcan, creating another Resilience for my next turn. But it costing 5 now means if I'm going to play it twice during my 10 energy turn, that's all I'm doing. And I might get something back, or I might just get 3 selections of the Sorkar Hunters and put myself over. Yeah. But I feel this was appropriate. Costing 5 is good, and Hope, it being able to choose, just imagine if supply lines could choose. Yes. It's just and guarantee a next turn play.
And it's any troop, so like Xaver is always being too cheaper. You can't stop him.
Well, yeah, or you're just like, well, if he doesn't pop in up in your 3, then you're like, well, I guess Forge Father Tekel's coming. You know, I mean, like there's options that you could, you know, pack your deck, or the Fire Drakes. Like, all right, they're coming out at 5, and then they die, and then I'll just resilience them back for 4. Salamanders are still going to be, they've still got a very strong fix to how they play, but I think these two changes, they're very minor, and at the same time, I feel like they definitely will impact their game enough where it won't feel like such a snowball. They can still snowball if you're going to let them, but they won't be able to snowball as consistently, especially with resilience being that 5 cost. That's really big.
Yeah, and this is just minor changes that work towards balancing the Legion. This was smart for them to do.
Yes. Yep.
They didn't come out and then kill all the teachings.
No. Thankfully, I mean, resilience still has a very strong effect. That still is one of the best teachings, you know, for what it does. You know,
which is why they now need to make Devotion put in play 4 Sorka Hunters.
Really, EG needs to let me develop for just a single day, and we'll see what happens.
Just go crazy. I would just do day 1 stuff.
Let's see what world we live in.
Let's bring back 3-5 Jubok. Let's bring that back.
Was that a thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What did I miss?
That was day 1.
Goldstones were 3 with guaranteed fast. They were just a straight upgrade from Groger.
Yes. It's just so ridiculous. Alpha Thetas were 4/4s. With the resolution effect as opposed to relentless effect. There's so many things, like the frontline, the Meldon squads for Death Guard were 1/5s, or they're 2/5s. I think they were 1/5s. I could be wrong.
Who let them do this?
It was a different time, my friend. It was a different time. The hammer goes up from 8 to 9. I don't have a complaint about that either. I think the Iron Hands...
I don't like getting hammered.
Yeah.
No one likes getting hammered, but now
I like getting hammered, but I don't like getting hammered.
What kind of hammer are we talking about? We're talking about the alcohol.
One hammered is good, one hammered is not good.
That's
and
right.
it's the one where my entire board gets disintegrated before my eyes.
My entire board gets vengeful spirited.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, especially with it being, you know, unlike the heroine, which is, it costs 9 and your opponent can fiddle around with it. The hammer costing 8 with a faction that can, you can control what you have in your hand. It just seemed like a bad news written all over it. And the Iron Hands have got so many removal options in Win of the Week, Actlix Astra, their Ferrum, tactic. Like, they've got a lot of ways to just dish out damage, and then you end it, at 8 energy. That one extra turn makes a big difference to give your opponent either ways to deal damage, shield buff, throw off tactic, cost. Like, it makes a big difference.
I don't think I saw a few complaints about this one, but in the end, it's like, do you really like playing against Burn Santar?
Yeah.
Is this the world we want to be in?
Because that's what we get, I mean, yeah, I don't think really. I mean, we haven't even gone through this all the way, but I don't think anybody has. I've seen a major outcry over any of these changes, including the Luther change, the Arch Betrayer. His ability is now 2 energy to take control of an enemy troop with 5 or less remaining health, as opposed to just a damaged troop.
Which, to be honest, I think is better. Not better as in balance-wise, but better for the game.
It's better for the game. Because literally, like, once he hits Arch Betrayer, your opponent doesn't want to play any troops because you're just going to steal him. Like, there's, like, what's the point? Whereas now it's like, okay, well, if it's got more than 5 health, it's safe. Or if I can heal it back up to above 5, but the one cool thing I like about this actually is, even though it changes how he can damage, like, he could steal full health troops. They don't have to be damaged as long as they've got 5 health. He can bring them over. But I think it's definitely fair, and it's better for the game, so I'm okay with it.
Anything that's healthier for the game and balanced like that is always good.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst part is, because he just, like, the way you trigger his Reckoning means there's almost a guaranteed chance there's a Jaeger on board.
Yeah.
So he has a hidden thing that will ping your troop and then let him steal it for 2 energy.
Exactly. So it's not just like, oh, like, hey, you can play around it. It's like, right out the gate, here we go. I'm going to take that 1 damage. Like, oh, is that a 12 health troop that I just dealt 1 damage to? Now it's mine. Like, that just, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Nothing irked me more than losing, like, a late game drop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, my Hydra. Goodbye, Hydra.
Yeah.
Oh, any vehicle. Oh, there he goes. He's being convinced to swap sides.
He's got that charm, man. That Luther look.
Luther's just so handsome.
I love the charm of shoots you in the leg and you join him.
Handsome Luther. Handsome Luther convinces you.
Handsome Luther fucking shoots you and then you join him.
Everybody likes Handsome Luther.
See, Handsome Luther is pretty solid, but I'd prefer if he would stop stealing my boys. Nah, I'm happy with this.
Yeah.
As am I.
Long overdue, Lucretia has her cost reduction only applied to infantry troops. I know some people thought it should just be Imperial Army troops, but to be fair, commanding Mechanicum and or cultists just as a neutral warlord, limiting her to just Imperial troops would feel kind of shitty to me. I mean, I'm fine with it just being to infantry because the big problem was her dropping vehicles and especially Kazdrak. Like, she drops a bunch of infantry, then she drops Kazdrak for 1 less, and that's what she's running with, and she just swarms you. But now it doesn't apply to structures, so she can't drop command post or the underground fort or she can still play them in her deck, but she's not going to get them out 1 energy earlier. So I think she still has the same ability to heal and buff, but I think that's fair. I think that's thematic, and I definitely think this has been overdue for a while.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's be real here. All of us have suffered through La Cunta for a long enough time where we would have preferred to just see her removed, but I like not getting Kazdrak to turn early.
Yeah, overall, I feel it was long overdue. I would prefer the Imperial Army nerf, so that way, think about if Ornithop could make Mechanicum troops, or Fail, when he made his thing, could just create infinite Kazdraks, theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely more fitting if she would have been Imperial Army.
It's just those 2 specific warlords, comparing them to her, since this is in faction the same. They only affect Imperial Army troops, whereas she gets to play with the whole neutral card pool.
Yeah, and the only thing I can argue with that, whether that's the intention or not, from the design point of the devs, was with her being on Prospero for the Spire Guard, with the way they were housed alongside with the Forge, not necessarily a Forge World, but they had a Forge. Tacitus Proctor was basically assigned there, and you've got their sorcerers and their cultists. Like, they weren't cultists necessarily, but they were working alongside like the Great Prophets, who are Chaos troops. Like, that's the only thing I can argue for that to make sense, is why she would be able to include those Mechanicum and the Chaos troop. I agree, though, that as an Imperial Army warlord, having more synergy just with Imperial Army would be nice. Although I think if they were to limit her to just Imperial Army, maybe they'd have to change her initiative or change up her ability just a little bit, because there's some good stuff, but there's a lot of not good stuff. And I think the one thing that Ornithov and Fail have got is they can just create random stuff just to throw down. With her, you're talking about you have to put it in your deck, and that's kind of, do you really want to play with Unsettled Populace, or some of the 4 health 2 attack frontline, or 2 health 4 attack front lines?
Valid.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone does.
No, but that's the only thing I can say. Otherwise it's really not bad, and I think I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Mechanicum, the Forbidden Protocols, no longer includes Bloodthirst. That's it. It still does all the other stuff it does. I saw a complaint
about this one, and I paused and went, have you faced the Forbidden Protocols before? Because this is perfect.
That's all it needed.
All it needed.
I don't want to lose the game because I couldn't get rid of a Doombringer that you gave precog, Orman.
Yeah.
I couldn't touch it. And
I heard the counter argument of just pack Jam, and I'm like, Jam's not an issue. I mean, jam's not a solution to a problem that just arose, and I can't get rid of it.
Right. Or it has ward. It gets ward
Yeah.
to go with it. Now it can still get +3/+3 and survivor and ward. That's possible, but that's not basically dealing an additional 6 damage because it has bloodthirst. And that's still a high roll. That is a high roll. There's no way around that.
There are still 8 different shades of hell he can put you through.
Absolutely, but it definitely the whole bloodthirst thing goes back to the original bloodthirst mechadrites with Goldstone Hunters, that had 3 health. That was a problem. Giving bloodthirst so freely, and granted it's random, but for 3 energy, you're not just getting bloodthirst, you're getting potentially bloodthirst plus potentially other effects. That's crazy.
And I mean, look at it on Karn. He could put down his fucking speeder, hit it with if he got to 9 energy, I doubt he ever would. Could hit him with the damage buff, or what's it called?
Sweeping
plus
Advance.
3 attack. Sweeping Advance. Is it a 2 energy card or a 3?
It's a 2 energy.
Okay, so if he got to 8 energy, which as Karn is pushing it, he could buff it with Bloodthirst, that Forbidden Protocols Bloodthirst, of course, and then the Sweeping Advance, and now you're facing down hell.
Really, I ran into a couple Karns on ladder who, Karns run Drilling Site anyway, because the games are fast enough that they play
I forgot Drilling Site exists.
That, and they supply lines into the speeder so that way they can get it out turn 4 with Forbidden Protocols and just hit you with that 7/4 Bloodthirster with Survivor 1. That you still have to deal with because it had Survivor 1.
Right. Yeah, the Survivor was just if it
Nail in
gets
the
this,
coffin.
come on, it bad enough that I took the damage that's still around.
And jam is only a solution if it didn't have fast more times than not, and a possible roll of ward.
Right.
I'm very happy what they did. When they said powerful buffs, I was skeptical. Now I wish I was right.
Yeah, it's still good for vehicle decks, like for White Scars, for Proctor, for any deck that's going to run multiple vehicles. It's still a very good buff that's random, so you don't know what you're going to get, but I mean it's going to be decent. But it's without that Bloodthirst, it really cuts down on the crazy well, I guess that was the game because you rolled a 6. That's, you don't feel that
It
way.
lowers the amount of bullshit, which is nice.
Yeah. And then
now I'm going to keep playing Last Stand as an Astartes Blood Angel.
Then speaking of Bloodthirst, Khorne's Favor, last card that got changed here, was changed to give the Warlord +1/+0 and Bloodthirst until your next turn.
Wolf Claw! Woo, woo, woo. Or I guess woo is better. This is just Wolf Claw. I don't think anyone can look at it any way else.
Yeah, it's basically a 5 energy legendary Wolf Claw for neutral, right?
I think it should be swapped to 4 energy now that its effect is the way it is, but besides that, I'm fine with it.
It was a good nerf. It's just the way it was before led to so many fast games with Warlords that were guaranteed their connects again. Like before it was nerfed with Cypher. That 1 damage really didn't hurt Cypher that much. I don't know why people stopped playing him, but
that one damage, well, really it's a cost reduction that mattered. Helped Karn a lot.
Yes, it just made him so much more consistent.
Who gave Karn a curve and where does he live?
3 energy speeder or Ron Veteran's 4 energy Wrath into 5 energy Khorne's Favor, and he still has the attack bonus, so you can't even swing back. It's just, it was insane.
Who gave him a curve and where does he live? It was not nice.
Yeah,
but now Karns are back to running Gore Childs like they should be.
Right, because he
get back in your corner.
Yeah, he's already got Bloodthirst, so he doesn't need the +1 from this. That's only temporary. Why not just run the Gore Child and get that +1 automatically if you need to go that route? It's still good. It's still good for certain Warlords. I don't know if I would want it to be 4 energy for those Warlords, making it a little bit too easy for Kurz to combo it. Or Goreborn to throw some, or Night Houses, right? They already have their own plus. Was it House Maccabeus, right? The
House Maccabeus is +4 for 4 energy. Yeah.
Yeah. So then if this was 4, then you could throw down Corn's Favor, House Maccabeus, 2 drill sites, and throw down a second House Maccabeus. That's too
That'd be a
much.
meme in of itself, because you gotta burn a lot of cards to do that. If someone killed me that way, I'd just clap.
Slow
I mean,
clap.
back in the day, that was just House Maccabeus into Orders
Right.
of Terra for
Yeah.
20 damage.
Oh, that's what we just like to call Tuesday.
A slow clap.
Yeah.
For you.
For you.
Yes.
Shut up.
God damn you too.
But for House Maccabeus, it was Tuesday.
I want to get off this crazy train.
No,
We're rolling off the rails.
I think all of these neutral
Buzzy.
changes were very good. I don't have any complaints, and I mean, and it doesn't feel like they killed it. Like Corn's Favors, I know some people said it's Wolf Claw. Yeah, and it's neutral, and it's for everybody now. And I mean, if you want to, you could run run it in a Space Wolf deck in addition to your 2 Wolf Claws, although I don't know why you would.
People complaining that it's just a Wolf Claw now. Do you like the alternative? Did you want the alternative?
Exactly.
And if so, were you one of the people who only ran it? Because if then, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's still bloodthirsty, which feels like Corn. You know, it still ups the attack. Yeah,
We're still
we
making
knew
new Beyblade at the enemy.
Yeah, we knew when Corn's Favor was up for prizing with that raid event that it was going to be a bad thing, and I was shocked that we got it, and I'm pretty sure it's because of the way scoring was done differently for that raid event, unlike the other raid events, because we got it in like 6 hours or something.
Yeah, we got it just the same day.
Everyone went, we can't succeed in the raid, guys. Let's push for the second tier reward. And then you blinked, and then we were done the raid.
Yeah, it's like, okay, everybody, there's no way we can get that, and then like it's like, oh, are you sure?
You already got it.
You didn't even try. We weren't even trying.
We were trying to lose, yet we still won.
Yeah.
Wait, did we? We got 3 cards. No, we got a card back, right?
We got a card.
We got a card back, which was just a worse version of a paid card back.
Yeah.
God damn you, EG.
I felt like for that, like I mean, it's like that. Literally, like it was just the same card back, but with the eyes not lit up. Like,
which arguably made it like significantly worse.
It felt really phoned in. Like I'm
Hey,
fine, you know, whatever.
At least it's not like the Rubio card back where the very next day they were selling it in the shop for 400 yen.
Yes.
That pissed me off because I grabbed that deal just for the card back.
It was
a nice card back.
It was a nice card back.
And then I was like, God, I'm so happy because I was talking about it in the podcast. I was like, yeah, I'll grab it later. And then I go in and I'm like, oh, you bastards.
Yeah. Sometimes, you know, every guild just throws themselves
my money like I knew they would.
Yeah. But yeah, so overall that's the whole patch. And I mean, it's a lot to chew on. You got a whole faction, you got a little bit of assist from a faction that received a change not too long ago. A change, might we add, that didn't do them any favors. Like it felt like, you know, it was a nice idea that wasn't fully formed. And I feel like the Thousand Suns changes here finally gave it the structure and the form that it needed, the extra oomph. And then some minor tweaks that I think all felt like a good balance.
Yeah. I don't think like none of these came out bad.
No.
Well, except the Apothecary.
Well,
okay. We can listen. Trauma has hidden the Apothecary from me, so we can just pretend he doesn't exist right now. That's an option.
Yeah, one thing to talk about here just a little bit is this is the first week in October. While we're recording this here, and this is the October patch. We've had the last 2 months. We've had a big patch at the start of the month, so it seems to be a trend that every guild has been doing. So I mean, I think now again, this is all speculation, and I don't like to speculate too much, but typically end of October, November is new expansion, is when we get our second expansion of the year, and we do spoilers and all that. So if we hold true to that, we might see one more big patch before we get new cards. And that may or may not be patches or enhancements of themselves. When I say patches, I mean like cards that add to something that a faction needed, or give us a fifth warlord to really kind of give us some newness without it being necessarily new. So, I mean, we might still get one more big patch in 30 days. And that could be a big change for a Legion. But I don't know. Because, I mean, we still haven't had a Q&A scheduled. So that's also up in the air, too.
We are late for a Q&A.
We are.
Not really. I wouldn't
We
say
haven't
we're
had
that
one for
late,
a while.
but we should have one. Like any time now. We're just waiting. We want them every guild. We're ready to ask our really stupid questions we ask every time.
They told me 2 years ago that they would change Proctor's name to RoboPope, and they never did.
Well, now you got
those
to sue.
screenshots, EG. I still have them. They legit told me they would.
Well, you know what?
I love to imagine your only contribution is wanting that name changed.
It's been over a year, and they haven't added Blood Angels to Unremembered Empire tactic.
Yes, they keep saying it.
That's one thing I would like to see. Like, it should be one Ultramarine, one Dark Angel, and one Blood Angel to choose from.
Well, Scuff, obviously that'll be in the new game mode. Key feature.
It's for gems only, though. It's a new feature for gems, and it will involve lodges that'll let you upgrade your Unremembered Empire.
Only Unremembered Empire, though. Nothing else.
Well, excuse me, I seem to be shot in the dark here. What is Unremembered Empire?
It's the...
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it's the Blood Angel card that lets you basically just get a Ultramarine or Blood Angel. It shows you a spread of 3 cards.
Secundus?
Imperium Secundus, that's what I meant. Not
yes.
Unremembered Empire. Unremembered Empire is the book.
Is the book.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. Juan's got us covered. This is why we brought you along, just to know that one card name. That was a ploy.
I was so confused, because it sounded like Imperium Secundus, what you guys were talking about, but I just...
Who's scared to correct us?
Well, I think that's everything.
Yeah, you know what? They did good at this patch, but now they just... if they keep doing one every month, like they've done thus far, that'd be perfect. Maybe like a tiny one towards like the midway of the months, just to clean up any mistake they most likely did with the pre-existing one, but...
Well, now the question is, do they play test, and will we ever find out?
Yeah, I don't think.
Or do they just slap something in and say, "Have fun"?
Here's the one thing I think that, because typically when there's a new expansion comes out, they really focus on the new factions and the new cards, and any patches that kind of tie into those cards. But if we're going into the realm where we're just getting cards added to existing factions with the new expansion, and a handful of Fifth Warlords. When I say handful, I mean probably 12 or 16 Warlords added to these factions. You really don't have to patch new mechanics. You don't have to patch whole new factions. You can still do a monthly patch and incorporate those factions that were included in the expansion, and that would feel significant too. So, I mean, it's wishful thinking. It's totally optimistic, but if they keep that trend up, where every month, I think it's more feasible that they could continue that method of doing patches with the new expansion, whereas opposed to historically it's okay, new expansion is out, forget about all those old factions for a long time because they're not going to get tweaked. You're just going to see tweaks to the new stuff.
Mm-hmm. And some tweaks are way too sudden and way too good, like the Blood Angels. Totally unrelated to everything we're talking about, but can we talk about how the Blood Angels got a major buff a week after release?
Well, they did.
Or we even got data on them.
Didn't Dark Angels too?
Dark Angels got a few cards.
Well, Imperial Fist got a few cards too, to be fair. And a few cards nerfed. But
the Blood Angel list was 8 pages of buffs. Every card got their stats increased. It was crazy.
Well, and then also, Imperial Fist, their changes were from spoiler to release.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about post launch.
I think
were out
post launch,
for a week.
The sisters and the Agents of Sigillet have gotten changes. I don't think Imperial Fist have gotten any changes.
No, they just kind of came out and existed.
They've managed. I think that the Warlords continue to work, Cam Diaz drives win rates, for them, but I don't think any of their cards have been changed.
Which, that does remind me on spoiler changes. For the folks back home, if you could quickly check for me and confirm this in your own mind, I'm near certain Sanguinary Guard on launch was going to be a 7/7.
Yeah.
It was a 7/7.
It was.
Now, I got a question, Everguild. What the fuck were you thinking?
It was I made Nassau this season that Blood Angels came out, and not being able to kill it with my Hunting Eagles just because I couldn't shoot it with ability and swing the Hunting Eagles into it because Sanguinius would go first because he had high initiative. Just Sanguinary Guard being a 7/7 was impossible. I couldn't.
There is no world where that was balanced.
What did Jofiel used to do? Wasn't he like a 4/10 with shield? He had Requiem.
He had Requiem. He had Requiem, and his Requiem I think was like gain shield, if I recall correctly. It was like really like lame.
It would be fair if they added that on top of what he already has. I mean, I'd be happy.
Yeah, it was like either gain shield or gain survivor. That's what it was. Like that was it.
But to be fair, there's nothing you need to do to Jofiel. He is a good troop.
He is.
Well, now he is.
Yeah.
Before
he was
either a 5/10 or he was a 4/10, and that was not that great.
No.
I'm gonna actually check real quick because we can.
Oh shit! You're gonna go ping parent?
He's gonna go down there.
No. We're going down the rabbit hole, boys.
He's scrolling up is what he's doing.
No, I'm using I could do that, but I don't like my chances, so I'm just going to do in announcement Blood Angels.
Oh yeah, because scrolling up could be a long time. But yeah, I mean that is the patch. Overall, I think we're generally pleased. Like I said, I haven't seen or heard anybody giving us woes about the patch. I think this really has stimulated some new interest in the Ultramarines. Had people take a look back at the Thousand Suns after they had just put them down to bed, and also kind of breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief from some of those neutrals that were causing some problems.
Yeah, this is good. I'm happy.
It was a good patch.
Yeah. So with that out of the way, with the patch talk out of the way, let's talk about what are you guys doing outside of Legions at this time? Juan, are you still doing studies? Are you still in school? It's only been a week. I want to make sure.
Did you drop out and start selling drugs yet in Las Vegas specifically?
In Reno, I'm live right now.
Are you in Reno?
Maybe I am. You'll never know.
Well,
okay. I mean,
farm.
Let's be real. The two shadiest places you could be was Las Vegas and Reno.
Look, people go to Reno. It's like there was like a 2-year stretch where every time America's Most Wanted arrested people, they were in Reno, and you're like, what's going on in Reno? Like,
Reno is Las Vegas's little known brother.
Reno is the biggest little city, is its claim to fame, and really it's just a little city with big city problems. That's where I went to college. I went to UNR there. Love the campus.
Lived in Vegas, went to Reno.
Oh well, funny enough. So there's a rivalry in Nevada between North and South. So Las Vegas and Reno are constantly at odds, not just university-wise, but county-wise too. There's a lot of back and forth with funding between Clark County, which is what Las Vegas is, that drives all the funding, and North, which is Carson City and Reno. There's water at stake, so there's a lot of stuff at stake. But growing up in Las Vegas, there is UNLV, which is the college. And if you grew up in Las Vegas, the acronym that we would refer to UNLV meant you never leave in Vegas. Because if you went to college at UNLV, it was you were living in Las Vegas, you're not going anywhere, that's where you're staying. Now, granted, Las Vegas is a completely transient town. That statement really isn't true, but when you're in high school, you believe a lot of stuff. So I went to Reno because it's like, if I'm going to go to college, I'm not going to go to college in Las Vegas. So I went to Reno, and I went up there, and they had for the rivalry game, because every year they'll play for the there's a canon, there's a historical canon, whatever that's what they pay for, because it's college. You always have to play for something, right? And they would have shirts for that week.
Canon.
Yeah. They would have shirts that week that they would give out that you could buy that would kind of like support the theme. And the shirt was just like, the college script, but it was FUNLV. So you would have a Fun Love shirt, but the F was in red and the rest of the letters were in blue. So you got the picture. Mm-hmm. And then the other side, they would have a Funner shirt, which is FUNR. So you would have Funners and Fun Loves. It was good times.
Yeah, I respect this. Also, I when you say cannon, you mean like a naval cannon?
No, I mean like a battle cannon,
Yeah, okay.
Like a
the win condition needs to be you get to shoot it at the other team.
You
don't get to aim, but you get to just shoot it at them.
For that game, for that rivalry game, I don't know if they still do it, but for that rivalry game,
they shot students.
They would fire the cannon off at the start of the game.
Oh, that is a mistake waiting to happen.
It's good, yeah, it really was, and I mean, really. I don't even know if it's the same cannon. I mean, they say it was and of course, when you win it, then you have to paint it, the school colors. So there's like 300 coats of paint on that thing, like reds and blues. But anyways.
I love the idea they're not stripping it; they're just adding on top.
That's right. It's like, how did they fire that cannon? It's so gunked in paint.
Oh god, they got to paint inside the barrel too, just to make sure. So it's like a penny width. Or a penny diameter, I guess.
2 thin coats. That's what they would do. They would put 2 thin coats on that.
We don't need to strip the paint. We can just keep adding on top. How could this ever go wrong?
Duncan Rhodes Battle Cannon painting class.
I mean, to be fair, I'd go to that class.
I would be intrigued. I would be intrigued of it. Like this.
The name alone has sold me.
You had me at Duncan.
You had me at Battle Cannon.
It could have been Dunkin' Donuts painting class, but no, it was Duncan Rhodes.
I disagree with that statement.
Well, Axel, what are you up to?
What am I up to? I'm DMing my campaign. I think I mentioned it a couple of last episode. The party's getting the combat tomorrow. With my express intent to break them.
Yay, TPK.
It's not. That's the goal. Is not to kill anyone. The goal is to break their bad habits. We have a person who is more cowardly and will try to ignore combat as hard as he can. We have a player who is too overzealous of being a hero, and we have a player who will kill his entire team in greed alone. So I have every encounter specially made to punish the people who are too far gone. And we're going to see how this goes.
How do you feel about player mutilation?
Player mutilation?
Yeah, like through the course of a campaign or just in an encounter, something terrible happens, and they lose a limb or a hand or something like that, a permanent wound, essentially.
In the world of artificers, as long as they exist in your campaign, that's something they can easily fix. But for the time, they're fun.
Yeah.
Please never say that again.
What, artificers? You don't like me saying artificers?
It's the Fishers. Why would it be Fishers?
Hey, Juan. Erebus.
Okay, but Cerebus, so don't at me.
You know what? I love saying words wrong just to see how people react, because it's always violence. Violence is always their first option. But no. I have some zombies covered in bonelesses. I don't know if... Do you guys know what the boneless are?
No, but it sounds like something that is lacking bones.
They are essentially slimes made out of human flesh.
Oh, okay.
And there's a special little thing listed in their lore bits to say they'll often just attach to zombies and skeletons and pretend to be their skin until they get into combat. So the party is going to get close, the overzealous one, and the plan is just to have it break off of them, and they can wrap around a PC, reduce their movement to 0, blind them, and choke them to death. The idea is, you rushed in alone like you usually do. Oh, where's your guys at? Yeah. And then the gelatinous cube is supposed to punish the greedy player.
So with your gelatinous cube, do you have just sitting there? Or are you gonna have it drop?
I have
shaft?
I'm going to have them in the middle of a room with a sword in the middle. If they don't roll the DC 15 Wisdom check, there was no way to know he's there until they touch the sword.
See, I like dropping them either in the cube or on the cube. There's a trap, right? They go to grab something at the center, and there's a shaft above them, and the cube just slides down and lands right on top of them.
Well, here's the thing, right? If you do that, they don't have disadvantage to get out of it. But if it's just sitting there, because no matter what, it's invisible. No matter what the lighting is, you need a DC 15 to see. If you willingly go to grab the sword while it's there, you have disadvantage to get out. So it really pushes in the fact of, oh, you're boned now if your boys can't pull you out. Because depending on turn order, the minute it turns begins, you take 66 damage. If the PCs are low enough, they're dead. They're gone.
Yeah, they've got like 1 or 2 turns best to get out there. Not to mention, I mean, when they're inside of a gelatinous cube, they're not doing much except trying to get out. So
except for trying to get out.
And they got full cover though, so they're pretty much hidden from the ads. It's just the issue is that gelatinous cube is screwing your day up.
Oh, good D&D. Good D&D.
I can't wait to see how the party reacts. Oh, and for the player who hides, I've hidden vents around the battle area because what are they called? Boneless have the great ability of they can fit in anything that's an inch by inch. So they may or may not slide behind him.
You're gonna pull a Burke from Aliens? You should totally pull a Burke from Aliens. That scene, man, that scene sticks with me to this day. Like, sometimes I just, like, you know, like, you ran and hid into a closet, and there's something there behind you.
Oh, he did that exact thing once in an encounter. He jumped into a closet and hid. So the now I don't mean to be rude to anyone who would say it, but when he got into the closet, he's like, he just said, "I get into the closet," and a player quickly yelled from the table, "Yeah, you do," and it floored me.
Now I'm trapped in the closet.
I actually had to pause.
That's funny.
Oh man, I can't wait to see the reaction. They're gonna have such a bad time, and none of them have anything like. Have no radiant damage, so the zombies in there are going to probably keep getting back up for a bit.
Ooh.
This session is the anvil, and I am the hammer.
Sometimes you gotta bring the hammer, and don't feel bad about it.
At least it's not the axe and the hammer.
Oh, god damn it. Can we talk about how shitty of 2 weapon choices that is? You picked 2, by legal definition, blunt weapons.
Okay. But then why does the Harrow Master use it? Riddle me that, Batman.
Harrow Master can't be stopped because he has the harrowing.
Exactly.
Well, Juan, do you got anything you want to plug? Your second week back-to-back here on the show.
As usual, I would like to plug Lehman Russ 80. He's been recently posting a lot more to his YouTube channel, and for the first time, he's actually asked people to subscribe to him. So if you wouldn't mind checking him out, that'd be pretty cool.
I will, but he needs to have a kilt cam, like a webcam specifically aimed right at his legs, and he has to be wearing a kilt, and then I'll consider.
That sounds more that sounds like more like a Twitch thing.
You know, you could that works for Twitch if it's an active live stream, but if I'm watching a video and there's not an active kilt cam, I'm off the video.
Is that any video?
I've doubled down on that.
It's like
no, video. But now that I thought about it.
I could watch this YouTube video about how to install my car stereo, but there's no kilt cam, so it's not going to do anything for me.
It's not going to do anything
it's not going to do it.
I hate the connotation in that. I hate, like, the implication, rather.
You said it.
Yeah, but you made it worse.
How about you, Axel? You got anything to plug?
I'll do the usual. I'll plug our boy Dorn. Dorn Stash, he does art. He drew my little crab. My crab is a peg leg, in case no one noticed. It is adorable. That is Drew Lee Clark on Instagram and Dorn Stash. And also, I'm going to plug the removal of deck slots. No. We got too many. I don't like choices. I want a deck slot.
If you like are only using the bottom 10 decks, just delete the rest of them. The rest of them are out of sight, out of mind. That's how you get more deck slots. That's the secret hack.
You guys
the secret hack to have more deck slots. Get rid of your old deck slots.
Deck slots. We need 2 more rows of deck slots. You can't get rid of them.
The best we can do is a quarter of that.
There is stock in those deck slots. If I could borrow other people's deck slots, I would do it.
I would give you exactly a quarter of a deck slot.
It's like you can build a 10-card deck, good sir. No, I'm gonna plug. I will plug deck slots as I usually do. I'll also plug the podcast and YouTube channel promo code contests. Not just the ones that I'm doing. A lot of content creators. People. Yeah, a lot of content creators have got promo codes right now. So listen to their videos. Check out I think Mr. Midnight, Vapex. I'm not sure if Karmatos has got one yet. Ballguard is supposed to be getting them. This is something that every guild's finally implementing and getting out there. So check out your content creators.
I have an important question for that, Scuff. So, did every guild just not tell anyone how to get it, and they had to ask, and every guild just went, "Oh, hey, yeah, here you go."
I legit think they did, because I did. That's how I got them. I don't know if I was just the first one that asked, because I asked back in July, like at the start of July, and they didn't respond to me until the end of July. Or I asked in June and July. It was like a month. It was like a month from when they implemented the podcast, the promo code thing, from when I sent the email, and then a month later I got the response. And then I was like, okay, cool. And then I think everybody that I've heard has had to email them for the promo codes. I don't think they went out and said, hey, you're a content creator, here's some promo codes, please do something with them. I think you got to come to them and say, hey, can I get some? And this is what I'd like to do to give them away. I feel like every guild should do a little bit more. I appreciate what they've done, but I feel like, sometimes you got to reach out to the people who've been reaching out to you since day one. Like for those who don't know, when I do spoilers, I think it's the same for everybody who does spoilers. We have to email them to be on the list, like to say, hey, we're interested, please send us spoilers. Like if you don't, they don't reach out and say, hey, did you want to do some spoilers?
If you don't, they go to Valorek.
Oh God! 3
Everything.
weeks.
You know what? Valorek has more deck slots. He has to. He has to have been fed deck slots for exactly 2 decks.
God,
how did that make you feel?
Well, I mean, he's Dorn's favorite son. No. Yes.
Disagree.
Oh man.
Disagree.
When they called him that,
I can appreciate that he's an Imperial Fist fan, but that's where I draw the line. Like, that's it. And you know what else I'm going to plug?
What?
I'm going to plug
what?
I'm going to plug Juice, guys.
Not the Juice.
I'm going to plug the Juice. And I just
Local man plugged the Juice.
You like the Juice, eh?
Got it, juice.
Yeah.
Juice.
Too much juice, too little time.
You need more juice.
Is it healthy?
Only 30 seconds this time.
Alright, we're clicking on the Juice.
Negative juice, eh?
Wait, we're not.
Uncle Juice.
No, I just click on it.
I'm clicking on it.
Dive in.
I'm very good, eh?
Uncle Juice is a good.
I mean, there was nothing worse than when I got sent the Ohio basement. Las Vegas basement. Audio clip.
The basement clip was good.
I have a fun joke about that, Scuff. I sent it to my buddy because I joked about it to him, and he downloaded it on his phone to listen to it the first time and forgot to remove it. So he was working out and the playlists were playing, and he's like, "What the fuck is this?" And he just hears basement talk.
And all
and
of a
he
sudden,
had
there's
no idea what was happening.
Like a 45-second talk about basements and all sorts of weird, strange stuff.
Yeah, he had no idea what was happening because he completely forgot of it, and that was amazing to me.
Hey, once it's out there, once it's created, it gets out there and it gets spread around, and that's all right. It takes time to come up with some of these clips, and I've been sitting on like 3 or 4 of them. So gradually, we're gonna work them in. We're gonna spread them out. We're gonna share the love just in time, probably for the holidays. We'll get ourselves
share the juice even.
We'll have a Christmas album, Christmas carols. Why not? Chaos
Drunken
carols.
Christmas carols. Drunken Chaos carols will be the best thing possible.
That's probably going to be the title. Drunken Chaos carols.
We already got the 3 Musketeers. You, me, Dorn, and Pirate.
Yeah, well, I will just have people rotate in, depending on what time's up. Let's make it a 24-hour sesh. No, I don't think I could manage that. I'd probably last 2 hours at best.
And then there's people who'll do a months-long live stream who are unstoppable.
Yeah, good props to them if they can. The endurance that takes is not something I've got. Well, all right, guys. Juan, thank you for making time and joining us again this week. I appreciate it.
Of course.
You are the bane of my existence, Juan.
I gotta take up another guest because the BB, who we're going to be talking about maintaining positive mental health with the ladder grind, I think we're going to be recording that on the 20th, so still got to find a guest for next week.
By BB, you mean our favorite New Zealander, right?
I don't know where he's from.
Is he Big Bullies?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, a different BB.
It's a different BB.
Because Because I know Biggs Bullies is RBB. Yeah, he's New Zealander. I love that guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
But, so we'll see where that goes, and we'll see what we end up talking about next week. I'm not quite sure what the topic is. We might dive into the next faction spotlight.
You just said we might die.
No, I don't want to do that. No, I think the next faction spotlight that we've got to dive into would be the Blood Angels. So maybe we can work on that.
Hey.
Yeah. Just get ready for it, people. It's going to happen. All right. Yeah, thanks again, Juan. And we'll talk to everybody later. That's it for me. Bye.
The sunlight dims.
This has been another episode of the Warp Chatter Podcast. Thank you for listening.
Eternal loyalty.
Burn it! Burn it all!
Well executed.